You're listening to Awards Magnet, a Gold Derby podcast. Subscribe for new episodes on Thursdays and special monthly mailbag episodes. Email us at slugfests@goldderby.com. Now, on to the show. Welcome back to Awards Magnet. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce Ng. And Joyce, we're doing a special mailbag episode.
How special is it?
It's pretty special because we haven't done one of these in a little while. And we're in the process of tweaking the schedule a little bit. But we're back this week to do a mailbag. And we have a lot of emails, Joyce. People are shifting out of Oscars and into Emmys, which is great.
Are we getting more Emmy questions now than we have in the past?
We've started getting a lot more TV questions. And if you'd like to send one, please email us at slugfests@goldderby.com. And we'll read your emails on a future mailbag episode. So we have so many, Joyce. I'm going to start, though, with our good friend Bianca, who loyal listeners will know is a this or that type.
Guessing she has another one.
She does. We're recording this on Wednesday. On Tuesday, Joyce, the new trailer for Hacks premiered. Season 4 of Hacks. Are you excited?
Very.
We can talk about this in a little bit because we have a couple of questions about Hacks. But here's Bianca. I hope you guys are still doing the mailbag episodes. Well, good news, Bianca. We are right now. It's been a while since I've seen one. But just in case, I wanted to send a new question in honor of Hacks' imminent return. Who do you prefer, Deborah or Ava?
I think I'm more of a Deborah than an Ava.
Interesting.
That doesn't mean like I like her more because I love them both. But I think like personality-wise, I'm more of a Deborah than an Ava.
I guess because of my age, I would agree. I'm older than you, so I have to go Deborah. I definitely think one of the strengths of the show has historically been that they take the generation gap very seriously, and I think they treat both of the characters with great respect, even while making fun of both of the characters for their very obvious blind spots. And that's what I enjoy. So I definitely am like, to me, the stuff, Ava, I do laugh more about Ava's... there was the episode in the season 3 when they were at the Langham, right? And she is like spiraling over her,
the coffee, when they're eating.
Correct. Like her thinking she was being kind and progressive, and actually then Deborah being like, no, you're not. And then her spiraling over how progressive she should be. And all of that I really enjoyed. So I enjoy laughing at her, but at the same time, like they do treat them with respect. So I'm probably more Deborah as well, though, as I feel like we are, at least we're right in the middle of those generations, right? I mean, I am, at least I feel like, compared, like, because I'm not old like Deborah.
I'm an old millennial, and Ava is a young millennial.
Right. And I'm
she's like borderline Gen Z.
Right. And I'm borderline millennial Gen X. So I feel like I'm right in that little cusp also. It's great.
And Deborah's a boomer, so...
She's definitely a boomer. It's definitely a boomer. We have another question about Hacks. Actually, I'll read that, and then we can talk about our hopes and dreams for Hacks season 4, which is coming back earlier than ever, as your headline on our trailer post said, and many other headlines followed. I guess that was like the key talking point, right?
I mean, it usually comes back in May, and now it's April 10th. So
here's Andrea, who emailed this yesterday after the trailer debuted. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Love the show. What the hell is this release schedule for Hacks? 3 question marks. This is yet another reason streaming is bad and has killed television. That's from Andrea. I mean, what do you think, Joyce? This is a stranger schedule than we're used to.
Yeah.
But
so in the past, the previous 3 seasons, Hacks premiered in early May and did double episodes, except for last season when they only had 9 episodes, so the finale was solo. So now, season 4, it's premiering with 2 episodes on April 10th.
Correct.
And then a single episode for 4 weeks, and then 7 and 8 together, and then 9 solo, and then 10 solo.
So 10 episodes. All
by May 29th,
right
before the Emmy deadline, 2 days before.
I gotta say, my thinking was, I'm so happy that they've kept to the schedule and are actually back less than a year after the last one.
I mean, they started production 5 days after they won the Emmy. So
that I'm weighing on. I'm like, this is great. So I'm like, this is how streaming shows actually should be, I feel like. The schedule itself, I'm assuming there is some narrative reason why they paired episodes 7 and 8 together. And I almost wonder if it's because it's like a 2-part episode, though I guess we'll find out when they send the full season.
I mean, you could also say like why not like pair like the last 2 episodes together, right?
Correct. But but the fact that they didn't do that leads me to believe that 7 and 8 together are like a package deal, and then 9 and 10 come on. The one thing I will say, as we learned last season from Hacks, is that they're not afraid to like do things earlier in the season than maybe you would expect, which I'm really excited by in terms of the storytelling, right? Like I think last season, like Deborah got the late night show before the finale. And like you would think that is the finale. So I'm wondering if like 7 and 8 will be like a peak of the season where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they're already doing like her first episode or some big thing of the talk show. And then, 9 and 10 are like setting up the next season.
I mean, obviously the early episodes would be them planning the show, right? And
Correct.
Then before, like, I would say the show would launch like mid-season.
Right.
And then something probably happens in 7, 8.
Right. So I'm excited to see what that is. I love the trailer. Was hilarious. It seems like they're not skipping a beat. I'm very excited for this show to return.
I mean, the trust fall gag was hysterical. I watched that like 4 times.
I feel like there's a lot of physical comedy this season from Hannah Einbinder. It's just on the trailer, and I was like, she's great at physical comedy. I'm very excited for this season. I'll be very curious to see how Hacks. We'll talk about this as we do our predictions, which we're going to do our first Emmy predictions, even though we did like ridiculously early ones. We're gonna do our first Emmy predictions next week. I'll be curious to see how Hacks, like, as Hacks has had the lane of being like the insider Hollywood show. Like we talked about this like last season, where it's like not Entourage because it's much better, but it's not this, you know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, we're doing this, and then you have the studio now doing the same thing. Not that the studio is gonna win an Emmy in its first season over Hacks having just one, but I'll be curious to see how there's at least somebody on their corner in terms of like the Hollywood satire of it all.
I would say those are very different shows though. Like the studio is very, very much inside baseball. Like I'm not sure how it'll land with normies, whereas I think Hacks is easier to swallow with normies. Like you don't need to follow entertainment that closely to appreciate Hacks, whereas like there's a lot of jokes in the studio where it's probably funnier to you if you understand like all the intricacies and nuances of how the sausage is made in Hollywood and all that stuff.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I also think like you're saying, like Hacks has like more the cuts, like we were just saying, like Bianca was saying in her question, like the Deborah Ava stuff is more universal. But we do have an email about the studio also, Joyce. It's like we planned this. This is a production. And it's from Game Master Mike.
Oh, he's back.
He's back. I got to say, Mike sent an email like in early February that we didn't get to about TV. He's weighing on TV and no games. So if you're listening and you're like, I don't want another game, Mike has obliged. I think the negative response to the games and some of the comments has been gaming, which I feel bad about because I love to engage with the comments, Joyce. Sometimes they're a little cruel. With the Game Master Mike, maybe they could have, I like the games. If Mike wants to do a game, come back, Mike. Come back to us with the game. But I'll read your email now. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I'm sending this in case you're doing a mailbag episode soon. The reviews for Apple TV Plus's The Studio are out, and it's been universally praised. Have you guys seen the screeners? What do you think of the series? What are their Emmy chances, and who will get nominated, especially in the guest categories? That is all. Thanks, Game Master Mike.
Yes, I've seen all of it.
I have also, and to the point where I would watch it again. I was actually just saying, like, I have a lot to watch, obviously, because we're in a busy season with TV, but I was like, I kind of want to watch The Studio again. It was absolutely my shit.
Yeah, well, like I was saying 2 minutes ago, I think it's funnier to people who, like, follow this stuff closely, and, like, we follow a lot of this stuff closely, obviously. So correct. I think it's very funny to us. I'm not sure how funny it will be if I show it to my normie friends.
So it was one of the funniest things was in one of the reviews, I think it was a TV Line review maybe, was negative on it. It was one of the few that was negative, and like, I think it was the TV Line. If it wasn't, I apologize. But I think the TV Line was like skewed slightly more negative than some of the other reviews out of the South by Southwest premiere last week. And one of the complaints was basically like, it's too in-joke, like it did, the reviewer didn't appreciate or didn't get maybe the in-jokes, right? Or like, and the whole thing, because it's much more geared, I think, to not just industry people, but movie people.
It's very like film Twitter coded.
So it's like, if you're not like on Letterboxd and like watching movies and like know a lot about movies, like I don't think you'd actually appreciate the show as much, which is an interesting angle to take for a TV show. So I think that's maybe should level set your expectations. I loved it. Like, I mean, there's like, like everyone, like a lot of really famous people. We could talk about that in terms of the guest categories. Like a lot of famous people playing themselves in these episodes, including Matt Bellany, including Ted Sarandos in a later episode, which I found hilarious because it's obviously an Apple show. And Ted Sarandos has a really funny bit that I won't spoil with Seth Rogen's character. I was like, yeah, I just think if you're a listener of The Town, and you subscribe to like Puck, I think you'll love the show. If you're just like a regular normie who likes to watch, Dr. Odyssey, maybe not as much.
Why are you hating on Dr. Pacey?
I was just thinking of like the most normie show. FBI, maybe? Is that a show?
Canceled now, so.
One of them was. There's multiple FBIs.
I know. There's multiple FBIs, multiple Law and Orders.
So if you're like watching those religiously, I don't know if you'd appreciate a lot of the material in the studio.
There's like a lot of stuff with just, like oneers. I mean, like every episode has a oneer scene too.
Correct.
Like it's like stuff like that. And then about like giving notes. What was hilarious to me was that the second episode was about Seth's character giving too many notes. And then the third episode is about him being afraid to give notes.
Correct. And it's also like one of those shows where it's, I guess it's like, there's like narrative storytelling to it, and it's not, but it's very episodic. Like the episodes are kind of standalone. Like you have the same character, like Seth, obviously, and like his staff carry through, and there's things you learn about them throughout the season. But it does feel like every episode is kind of self-contained, where if you didn't watch, like you wouldn't be lost if you didn't watch like the episodes even in order, frankly. You know what I mean? Like
it's a completely different plot and setting for each episode, and like different guest stars.
Yes.
Like Ron Howard is great. I love his new thing of just playing himself in shows, like Only Murders, Studio. Anthony Mackie's in episode 2. It was great. They're in a fake movie together.
And so the main cast is like Seth Rogen, and then Ike Barinholtz, Catherine Hahn, and Chase Suey Wonders are his staff. And they're all great, I think. I don't know if any of them will individually pop. I think Seth is the best bet as a main category acting nominee among that group.
Yeah, and also the show is like very much like Seth's energy. So if you don't vibe with that, then that might spell trouble for you.
But
it's like very like manic.
Right. And they talked about this, like at the South by premiere, like after the screening, he was like, we wanted to make the show feel really authentic to our experience in Hollywood. So it's a panic-inducing experience. And that really is. It's funny, like I saw one of the reviews was like, it's all oneers and like with a score that sounds like it's from Birdman. And it's like the guy who did the Birdman score is the composer. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, that's actually the point, basically. I think that was in another a review that was not as positive, but I was like, that's the gag, I think. Like, and these are the kind of things. So, but I think in terms of Emmys, like we always talk about this, like with the visibility of these shows and like what will break through because there's so many shows, and like we know that like Apple obviously is not while it has incredible programming, not as big as Netflix, right? That's not like a diss on Apple to suggest as much, like that Netflix has a much bigger reach of their programming. That said, I think the studio will hit incredibly well within the industry. So I think the show will do really well with the Emmys, even though it's a first season show.
Yeah, I mean, like it would appeal to the industry because it's about the industry. And I think Apple would prioritize it as well. So it's like they have this and Shrinking. As
right. In terms of comedies, that's their big things. I think this will do really well. And I think Shrinking could get more. Like, there's a world where, like, Shrinking gets more acting in the lead category. Like, Seth, like I said, I think because of the category and because I think people really like him as an actor and he's, like, the focal point of the show, really. I think he's the best bet. In terms of the guest categories, I actually don't know. I mean, like, who's in it? Like, you're better at this than me because you actually have a concept of math and rules. Like, how... when you watched it, where you're like, I mean, I see people like Martin Scorsese guest Emmy actor nomination.
Well,
but
I mean, I didn't time his performance, but but that episode was long too. The pilot was long because he's in the pilot. So, yeah, I don't know if he meets the threshold for that, but he was good in it.
Right.
People are high on Bryan Cranston, who does not play himself.
Yes. He would be in it enough. I think Zoe Kravitz would hit the threshold.
Well, she has a whole episode.
And it is in another episode.
Yes. And And then, I mean, like some of them are just like fun cameos that are not gonna go anywhere, you know.
Like Ron Howard is great, but I don't actually think he would hit the threshold. And what is the
I mean,
threshold, Joyce?
he would.
He might.
You
What
just
is
have
it?
to be 5% of the runtime. Like he
Of,
would. He's
yeah,
of the episode.
yeah.
So
Okay.
he would. It's not like he's in there for
So
more than
he
a minute.
would,
Like
but
that
like,
whole final scene in that
right.
episode.
But Martin Scorsese maybe does, maybe not. I guess.
I just think because that episode is longer. Because like all the other episodes are around like 30 minutes.
And so. Like that's the pilot. Like Steve Buscemi's in that, and like Charlize Theron. They're not.
Charlize would not make it because she has like one line.
But it'll be interesting because you have that show obviously with like so many potential guest stars, and like obviously Hacks will be back with like several guest stars. So that's just 2 shows. Who knows?
I mean, like Hacks didn't do that well in guest last time when we thought it would. Like,
but maybe it'll do well this time. We don't know.
You don't know.
And Bradley Cooper maybe for Righteous Gemstones, Joyce.
Do they even watch that?
I don't know, but they definitely want. Like, I mean, like they probably saw the postmortems.
You can see a headline doesn't mean anything.
True. Another Emmy question, Joyce. This one's from Giovanni. Hi, big fan here. What cast member do you think has the biggest chance of continuing the White Lotus Emmy-winning supporting performance streak?
I don't know. This season's kind of weird.
Do
you agree?
So I'm trying to think back when I watched the second season, and I feel like it was similar. They for us elites, Joyce, they send the screeners, and they usually send like the first 6 episodes, and then they'll send the later rest of the season. And like in the second season, they sent I think the first 6, and then it ended with Leah Woodall and Tom Hollander hooking up. I believe that was like the cliffhanger that they sent to press, and that was the last episode. And I was like, that was great. And I was kind of mixed on like the early episodes, and then by the end I was like, that was great. And it's similar vibes happening here, where I was like the first couple episodes I was just like, man, I'm not feeling it as much. But then by the time we got to episode 5, which is airing this weekend, and episode 6, which airs next weekend, I was really into it. But I think
I think that's the story standpoint, but like just talking about like acting, right? Like I think it has a lot to do with, like, I'm not saying their performances are not good, but I think like the response to the performances and the actors. I think a lot of it is because Jennifer Coolidge is not in the season.
So you have I think what I've realized is that now Parker Posey is doing the Jennifer Coolidge part. Mm-hmm. I don't know if she would win though. I actually think Carrie Coon has a better shot of winning because she's fantastic and has a really fun arc that continues through 5 and 6, and I'd imagine will continue forward. And I think Walton Goggins, while in the beginning of the season, I was like, oh, I'm a little disappointed that he's playing kind of like the same stuff. He also, as you get to 5 and 6, is really kind of moving the needle in a fun and interesting way. So I think before the season started, I think you probably would, like we joked about this last year during Fallout, where it was like Walton Goggins getting Emmy nominated for Fallout, and then like, oh, well, he'll win next year for White Lotus. I don't think it's out of the question that he could also win for White Lotus, I guess, now.
No, I just think it's more like I felt like while the show was airing the first 2 seasons, there was just a lot more like excitement and buzz around it. I don't know if it's also because of the time it's airing right now, because this is the first time it's airing in the earlier part of the year too.
Right.
So because the first season was over the summer and then the second one was in the fall. So I don't know, but like it'll probably spam the nominations again, So
I have it like in many. Well, we'll do this next week, but I have several of the actors getting nominated for supporting. I think most of them will make it in. I just think that it's too ingrained now. But I think you said something the other day offline where like I think the third season seemingly is a normie. Normies are not as into it, right, as they have been previously.
Yeah. I think there's just an epidemic in general with people being too used to like binge releases and getting answers right away. Because you see this with some of the reaction to Severance too.
Yes.
Right.
Sure.
But Severance that like they just did back-to-back departure episodes, which is like a whole other thing. But I think people like really want answers right away because that's what they're used to with binging. Or even if a show is not a binge, they save it all to watch as a binge, right? Whereas like TV historically is episodic weekly.
Right. And in terms of this season, like last season had that like Italian like sex comedy stuff, I think, right, where you had like the relation. This season is not as much that at all, right? It's like you have the weird family vibe where it's like toxic stuff happening. You have Walton Goggins and Amy Lou Wood in their separate story, and then you have the three friends who are all sniping at each other and of different political persuasions, perhaps. And I was like, I think that part maybe is throwing people off because I think a lot of people, like, it's easier to detach yourselves from the show. But now when you're like, wait, are we the baddies maybe if you're watching it and you're thinking of that characters? I don't know. But I guess we'll see how it does. I mean, I think it'll do incredibly well with the nominations, though. And if I had to guess who would win, I would rank Walton Goggins, Carrie Coon, and Parker Posey as the win potentials in that order. I'm not saying they will win, but if you had to ask me, I would say that's how it would go.
Yeah, I think most people would be rooting for Carrie to win. So
yeah, I mean, she's so good in it. I think she's had like a lot of good stuff. So I'm excited for the rest of the season. And I'll look forward to watching. I mean, like I said, we've only seen up through 6, and I think it's 9. Is it 8 or 9 episodes this season?
8.
So only 2 left.
They've been increasing every year. It's 6, 7, 8.
So this one, speaking of Severance, Joyce, we have an email from our good friend, Judgmental TV fan.
They're back.
They're back, and they're going to make people unhappy, Joyce, I would say, with this, just reading it, because obviously Severance is a huge show that people really do like. Not Judgmental TV fan. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Sorry I have to get this off my chest. Severance has not been great television. I do not understand the stranglehold it seems to have on so many people. So many is a relative term here because I realize it's a very online show and not many people do subscribe to Apple TV+. The first season was slow and the reveals were telegraphed so blatantly that I can't believe anyone didn't see them coming. Now in season 2, people are out here acting like this is a Breaking Bad level drama with a Lost level puzzle to be solved. And now they've done 2 departure episodes in a row. You just mentioned this, Joyce. The show is poorly plotted at best and sometimes boring. I can't believe we have to go through an entire award season pretending that it was some great achievement on TV. That's Judgmental TV fan. Sure, I don't know if I agree with this, but, you know, it's always nice to see other perspectives.
Yeah, get out of your bubble a little bit. So
I will say this. If you're comparing it to Breaking Bad and Lost, I don't think it's anywhere near as good as those shows. And I do think a lot of it is the response is also helping because we haven't had shows like that in a while. So I think this is like reminding people of that enjoyment they got watching those shows.
I think it's also because it's been 3 years since the first season. So people were sat for season 2.
Right.
And like, it's not an awful show, obviously. So I think it's like the reaction has been perhaps a little bit elevated because like it is good, and then they're excited that it's back. And it, like, I think this season, like, plot wise, it's like is less cohesive than the first one, because I think the first season, you could see where things were going, right, or what they were trying to do, the characters. And this one, it's like it just feels a little choppy, and then it's like, and I don't think they've used their guest stars that well, because remember when they announced like all these people, and then like we've seen, yep, and like Gwendolyn Christie and the goats. It's like, okay, cool, saw you once. And then now we just had these 2 departure episodes from the main cast. So it's like, how did like episode 6 even end?
The thing I would say is this. I think like the counterpoint to this, I would say, is that a show going off for 3 years, coming back, like there was obviously, like you're saying, like a lot of anticipation for it. People were really excited for it to come back. And maybe again, it's my curated algorithm, or because I've engaged with people who like the show. Now it's just feeding me that on Twitter, which is probably part of it. But I actually think the response has been like among the people seem really mostly excited by the season. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's not been like it's definitely not been a disappointment, certainly. And I think the fans of the show really like it and like the direction it's going. And so I think in terms of like its awards potential, like that's probably only good because the general buzz is very strong for the show. Right.
Yeah. So like that's not, like, I don't think anyone would say like it's in trouble at Emmys. I mean, it got 14 nominations the first season,
right?
You know,
and it seems like it'll expand.
Oh yeah, it'll probably, like, Brit will probably get in this season.
Yes,
you know. So, yeah. I mean, like in terms of Emmys, it's fine for nominations. Like, is it gonna win? I don't know. I think if you talk to a lot of its fans right now, they'll say it's definitely winning. Right.
This is an interesting season because you have, like we've talked about, like, it's very top heavy in the there's a lot of returning shows that are favorites in the drama categories, right? Like, White Lotus, Last of Us, and Severance. And
they've never faced off against each other before.
And they're two of those three are heavy genre shows, I would say. I mean, obviously, like White Lotus. I mean, obviously, Severance is more than a genre show, but it is still like a genre. To me, it's like a genre show. So I'm wondering if, like,
it's
how will
a
that
genre show.
So how will that shake out with the like? Will Last of Us and White Lotus? I mean, Last of Us, Last of Us and Severance like kind of split the genre vote? And does White Lotus, even with the season like we were saying, where not everybody is as excited about it as they have been previously, sneak in and win? I have no idea. But I was wondering that, though. I think you're right. A lot of people would have Severance in first right now if they were ranking.
Yeah, but I think that's only because it's airing right now. Like like in a month, it might be Last of Us in first.
Correct. I think people will be really excited for Last of Us to return, and we saw that over the weekend. The trailer at South by Southwest, very cool. Can't wait. Joyce, this one is from Amanda. It's not TV related, but TV related, because it's about Kieran Culkin. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Love the show. Question. What if Kieran Culkin wins a Tony Award this year, too?
I mean, we've talked about this.
So
and he'll triple crown within 18 months.
So he won an Emmy. Then he obviously won at the Oscars earlier this month for Real Pain. Gave his great speech. Now he's on stage in Glengarry Glen Ross playing the
previous woman this week.
Yes. He's playing the Ricky Roma character. I almost said Tony Roma. I was like, Tony Roma is a steakhouse and not the character Ricky Roma, who was obviously played, I think, with Joe Mantegna on stage originally, maybe, but then obviously Al Pacino in the movie version of Glengarry Glen Ross. It's great. It seems like a tailor-made part for Kieran. Just like I rewatched the movie recently, I'm like, man, he will kill this role. And obviously, I think he's, people seem like their early response has been strong. He could win. Why not, right? People love Kieran Culkin.
Yeah.
Then what's his Grammy win?
He needs to do an audiobook. That's all. And just read something.
I mean, he could really EGOT. Like,
he could cover L to the OG, but he won't. In
the next couple of years, he could literally EGOT, I would say. I think there's a strong chance he could. I think people like him, obviously, and I think going back to the stage because he has been so successful. He's been like a successful stage actor.
He's been on Broadway before.
So it's not like he's like, moonlighting and like kind of like, being a tourist. I think he could win for this. I don't know. I have not looked at the competition though for the play categories this year.
His co-stars too, like Bob Odenkirk.
Sure.
Right. I mean, it'll be fun if like he wins, and obviously Sarah Snook winning for Picture of Dorian Gray. They just reunited at her stage door last night.
I was going to ask if you saw that, Joyce. It was such a touching moment on social media. Mm-hmm. Love to see it. It's nice because I was really touched. I love the shared mutual respect that they all have for each other from Succession. The siblings is great. I love that.
Yeah, and so many of them are theater actors, and a lot of them since the show wrapped, like they've returned to the stage, and they've all like the whole cast, like even like the supporting players, like they've all gone and watched their shows. Mm-hmm. So I talked to Justine Loop a couple months ago, and like we were talking like offline afterwards, and she was saying she couldn't wait to see Picture of Dorian Gray again on Broadway this time. Oh,
that's nice.
Yeah,
that's good. Couple more here, Joyce. This one's from CJ, who emailed us about our early Oscar predictions, which we did last week. How you feeling about those early Oscar picks?
I already forgot what I did.
CJ writes, "Hi, Joyce and Chris. This is CJ, first-time emailer from Australia.
Oh.
Congratulations on completing another award season, and thank you for your coverage. After listening to your 2026 Oscar predictions, I just wanted to point out that The Lost Bus has a producer none other than Jamie Lee Curtis. Could she single-handedly will that Best Picture nomination or even a win?"
I mean, this is your favorite movie of the year.
I was actually disappointed I did not have it in for Best Picture. I have it in for Matthew McConaughey and America Ferrera. I think it could go.
Well, you did a lot of live changes.
As is my want choice. I love to live change. But yeah, why not? Let's go Lost Bus. I don't know when it's supposed to be coming out, but hopefully it's good. We had a little Matthew McConaughey over at South by this weekend with the Rivals of Amziah King, I believe.
Yes, this is his second reconnaissance. What is like the double reconnaissance?
I guess you could say second reconnaissance. Yeah.
Yeah,
Double
yeah,
reconnaissance. The reconnaissance.
yeah. The reconnaissance. I don't know.
I love it.
Yeah,
CJ
but
has a
JLC would campaign her ass off for it. Obviously, we know
uh, two more here, and then we're gonna go. This one is from Karina. It's another Oscars wrap, but it's a question for us, Joyce, and in between. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Love the show. Absolutely love seeing Sebastian Stan bring his mom with him to the Oscars. She was a delight on the red carpet. If you were invited to the Oscars, who would you bring with you?
I don't know. I mean, like, you would probably just bring your wife, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would bring my wife or my daughter, depending on how many. Like, I like seeing, Brady Corbet and Mona Fastbolt had their daughter there, but they were both invited because they were nominees. So it's easier to, like, you know what I mean? I don't imagine, like, the nominees get one ticket. I'd imagine yes, right? You don't get two tickets.
I think you can finagle more. Your plus one gets to sit with you, but like you could get tickets for your family who are
That's true.
Way up in the rafters.
That was referenced. Like Mikey Madison, I think her family was there, but she was with her brother.
Yeah, her twin brother was.
So I would be with my wife,
one.
yeah. And then I would have, but if I had both, I would have my daughter there too.
I don't know, because like I don't think my parents care. So
wow, I think you would bring your parents. Come on.
I mean, like I could, but like they would go, but like they don't care about this stuff.
Wouldn't that be funny though to have them not care?
Yeah,
Mom, this is Tom Cruise. Okay.
Yeah, she doesn't care. I mean, she does. She did like Mission Impossible the show. So, and then we watched the movie because of that in '96.
It's a great movie. Can't wait. Mission Final Reckoning this year, Joyce. Any predictions? Is this the end of Ethan Hunt?
No, I mean that's your jam, so you tell me.
I think it might be, but I'm so psyched to see this movie. Cannot wait. I don't think they'll kill Ethan off. I think they'll retire him, and then he'll come back as they'll leave it hanging in case they ever want to do 70-year-old Tom Cruise doing Mission Impossible movies, which I wouldn't put it past them.
It'll be like when they killed off Hemi in Extraction, and then they want to do a sequel. Yeah, so it's like, oh, just kidding, he's alive.
Right, he came out of the pool.
Yeah.
Last one here, Joyce. It's a sports one. You know we love sports. It's obviously spring. Can't wait for the baseball season to start. I have not been this excited for a Mets season in so long. This one is from not a bad person, just a Yankee hater. I would say this, just reading that, if you're a Yankee hater...
Are you sure this is not your burner?
No, because I would say you're a good person. The only righteous path in life is to hate the Yankees. Anything else is just not righteous. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Love the show. Gerrit Cole has to have Tommy John surgery. Would you rather beat a healthy Yankees team with Gerrit Cole, or are you glad the Mets won't have to face him this year? It's from not a bad person, just a Yankee hater.
I mean, I don't care.
I don't care either. I don't think this is so Yankee. There's like levels of Yankee fans. There's the Yankee fans who are like somewhat rational and can say like, you know, we had a great run in the 90s. The team sucks. And even when they win now, it's not great. And like the competition is worse and they choked away the World Series and whatever. And then there's Yankee fans like Nick Turturro. Do you know Nick Turturro, John Turturro's brother? Mm-hmm. He's a big Yankees fan. He's an all caps tweeter, like the most delusional sports talk takes where it's like, just go get these guys. It's like, they have no farm system and no money that they're willing to spend. They're not getting anything. They're just another team now. Like, I'm sorry you grew up when the 90s, like really loved watching them play and win in the 90s. That is over. They're now a corporate like team that is not going to be the same. So in terms of Gerrit Cole, I'm like, they were going to be bad anyway, in my opinion. I don't think they were going to be very good. Gerrit Cole also very much notably on the decline, probably because he's needed this surgery for 2 years and didn't get it last year.
I mean, honestly, I had forgotten about him until the news was like, oh, like he's still hurting. He might need surgery. And I was like, he should just retire. So
last year he missed, this is really great stuff for obviously all our fans who love TV. But I'll just say this. Last year he missed 3 months with an elbow injury and not healthy, and then came back and they babied him through the rest of part of the season and into the playoffs. Then he opted out of his massive contract, as his want, in the offseason, and then immediately said, actually, I'm going to opt back in. And the Yankees let him do that, because if he opted out and went to get another contract, he probably would have had a physical, I would imagine. And I don't think you need to have a physical when you're opting back into your original team.
If you're staying. Yeah, and now he's going to miss the whole season.
And now he's going to miss the whole season. So who knows? These are just things that happened. I'm not like, I'm just you don't have to connect the dots or anything, but I'm like, these are just things that happened in the order they happened. Now he's missing the season. and he'll probably miss most of next season as well. And they have 2 more years after that of the contract. Again, if it was the old Yankees, the money didn't matter. They could just eat money. They do that all the time. The new Yankees, they really do care about the money more, and they're not going to like just spend recklessly to make up for the fact that they lost their ace pitcher. So, it's not a great time to be a Yankees fan.
No, and then like, I mean, remember when like, I don't even know when it was, like last year, 2 years ago, when we got a question about pitching and like why there's so many Tommy John surgeries now? Like, it's just the nature of the game now, the velocity and the increased speed. So, I mean, he probably should have gotten this surgery earlier. So,
maybe if he needed it, right? I mean, I don't know. But we're not, we're not there. Joyce, this was great. So email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Just a scheduling note, next week we'll be back to do our first Emmy predictions. You excited?
You're going to have the studio everywhere.
I'm going to have so many Apple TV shows because I really love all the Apple TV shows.
The payola is coming through for you.
No. Your Friends and Neighbors, new trailer came out as we're recording this. Can't wait. So psyched about this show. It's so good. A lot of good stuff. So I'm going to be weighing on Apple probably, but we'll see how it goes. And Joyce will be back then. Email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. If you like and subscribe, leave a review, all that good stuff. I'll talk to you next week. Bye. Thanks for listening to Awards Magnet, a Gold Derby podcast. Like what you heard? Leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Awards Magnet is produced by Andrew Merrill. Our logo is designed by Chelsea Sikora. Please like and subscribe to stay on top of all the awards news and email us at slugfests@goldderby.com.